Hello, this is Latoya of Infinitenature, and I am back with a new video revisiting Sacred Contracts Part 4. Hello, everyone. It is Latoya. Once again, I am back with a new video on the Sacred Contracts. This is Part 4, video number 4. I'm very proud of myself because, as I stated in previous videos, that I was going to be consistent on making a video at least once a month of doing something or sharing something. So one thing that I've been very consistent on as of right now is studying the sacred contracts, uh, getting to know my archetypes, getting to know the houses that each of them are in, and it's been very insightful. The last time that I did a video, I talked about interpreting your contracts and your archetypal will, which is chapter 9. So I spent like a whole month doing that. And because of that, I was able to familiarize myself with my archetypes and the houses that each one are associated with, and be able to see the relationship with each one and create a story. It pretty much helps me understand my life path and like all of the things that I've experienced and the relationships that I've experienced. So once I felt like I really got a hang of what my archetypes were and the benefits of each one and the shadow and the light parts of each one, I decided it was time for me to move forward. And towards the end of March, going into April, I decided to move on to the next chapter, which talks about using the will for everyday guidance. And in this case, because I already know what my archetypes are, it's a little bit easier to do this one. So you pretty much create a will based upon a particular question that you have for yourself that you want to answer, and it tells you within the book to it tells you within the book different phrases that you can use. It's all about setting a certain intention. So I really like getting to this part of it, since I've taken a very thorough time to figure out what my archetypes are and everything, and how each one correlates to my life. So the question that I asked myself, I'm not going to go into specifics about my question because this is very personal for me, very private for me, and I'm still in the process of doing it. It's just that I've taken a slight break on it towards the beginning of April, and now we're at in the today is the 29th of April, and the last day that I did something was like in the beginning of the month, around like April 8th, I believe. I want to say, let me check I'm looking in my notebook. You may hear me going into my notebook and seeing exactly the last day. Yes, April 8th. And the reason why I stopped, because there was other things that I wanted to work on. So I'm taking a brief break, and it's taking a little longer than anticipated, but I think I needed that because I've been really working hardcore on the sacred contracts. So this kind of helps me like take a break, get refreshed, and then get back to it. I'm gonna get back to it definitely sometime in May. But I've been really going through the question very thoroughly. So it's taken a while for me to get through the actual question. Um, but pretty much I was um I was open to receive guidance on where to proceed when it came to my career. I'm not telling you the specific thing that I said, but that's what I was talking about. And so what happened was I pretty much went through a similar process that I did when I chose my archetypes, but it's not as long, because I've already gone through the process of finding my archetypes. So in this case, based upon the question that I asked and the process that I did, that Caroline gives us, I was able to create an archetypal will based upon the question that I asked myself when it came to my career. And it was very interesting when I was able to see how my archetypes that I selected show up in different houses for this particular question. And if any of this sounds unfamiliar to you, if you haven't watched my previous videos, I highly encourage you to watch my previous videos, because this may not make any sense to you, especially if you're not familiar with astrology. Because if you are familiar with astrology, then you'll be able to have a little bit of insight, because the houses are associated with the houses that is in on your birth chart. So for me, I will share this part. So when I asked the question and I created the will for myself, my first house was in victim, whereas I will call this my natal, which is my original chart. It is in the fifth house. My victim is in the fifth house. So that was very interesting to me. All of these were interesting and insightful. In my second house is the warrior, which is the archetype that I selected for myself intuitively. The third house is the child archetype. The fourth house is the advocate. The fifth house is the rebel. The sixth house is the vampire, and in my natal, I would call it my natal archetypical will, um, is in the seventh house. And then in the seventh house is the prostitute, which was in my first house. Those two were very interesting to me, because the prostitute in my natal chart, I call it natal because I'm thinking of astrology. In my natal chart, the prostitute is in my first house, which represents your home and your family, and the vampire is in my seventh house in my natal. And I find it interesting because my vampire is in my sixth house in for this particular question when it comes to my career. So I was just like, wow, I have to be very mindful of making sure that I have clear boundaries when it comes to my career field. And because I know with my particular career field, I have to have clear boundaries. And I also have to make sure that I don't sell myself short in any type of way. I have to be mindful of that I don't sell myself short, that I don't compromise my belief systems that honor me. Because in my career will, I will call it my career will, my seventh house is where the prostitute resides. And anybody that watched the previous videos or have already read this book or in the process of reading this book and have read about the different archetypes, we all have the prostitute in us. And you have to be mindful of, when it comes to the prostitute, to not sell yourself when it comes to when it comes to your security, making sure that you're not putting yourself in compromising situations just to have security, or staying at a job too long, staying in a relationship too long, censoring yourself for the sake of being liked or being in a relationship or not rocking a boat. That's where you have to, make sure that you're speaking up for yourself, that you are being your true self, that you have faith that all things will work out for your good. So that really like stood out to me like a sore thumb. Also, my queen archetype is in the eighth house in my career, which is quite interesting. The ninth house is student. The 10th house is saboteur. The 11th house is rescuer, and the 12th house is the guide. Now, once again, all of these archetypes were selected, when I was going through the process of figuring out which archetypes resonated with me and really dwindling it down. So it took a lot of time. I started reading this book back in November. It is now almost May. And this is definitely a huge study, and it's really a lot of shadow work, a lot of going within and seeing the reasons why I made the choices that I made in my life, and seeing areas of my life that needs to be nurtured. It's also supporting me in seeing my weaknesses as strengths, and also highlighting my strengths. It's very insightful. I wish that I could, maybe one day I'll go even more into detail about this. I don't want to be too long-winded, but I'm going to look, because I'm going to look and see, get a refresher on what the common theme for the common theme in all of these messages that I was receiving. I talked about creating boundaries. I guess I'll share a little bit. Okay, so it says the first house is about my home, my roots, my family, and as I stated before, um, victim is in the first house when it comes to this career question that I have that I didn't tell y'all the specifics of, but the victim to me, what I wrote is that that it represents being victimized, feeling powerless. It's the guardian of self-esteem. That's what Caroline Meese has it listed as. That's to me the more empowering way of expressing the victim, is the guardian of self-esteem. It's developing your self-esteem and your personal power. And I believe I got this quote from the book, I am committed to my own personal power. It is important to create boundaries in this field of work. This is what I wrote. In order to thrive, you will have to create boundaries so that you can do your divine assignment. Recognize your personal power and have high esteem for yourself and your abilities. Remember to protect and empower yourself. Also, this connects you to the empowering others to recognize their own personal power and esteem. When it comes to educating, advocating, and inspiring mothers to support others to see their own divine potential, that strengthens the home base. In my archetypal wheel, my victim is in the fifth house of creativity and pleasure. And that's in my natal, in my original chart, wheel, as you would say, in astrology. My lack of self-confidence made me afraid to share my abilities. I downplayed myself. Taking responsibility for my life and understanding that I create my life empowers me. Take action. Don't hide. Write it down. Make it happen. Speak up for myself. Don't sell myself short. The first house, I also looked at the first house, prostitute, which is the reason why I did that. Why did I do that? Because, in my natal, in my original chart or will, the prostitute is in the first house. So I was trying to understand the link between the first house prostitute in my original chart, or original wheel, I should say. I keep talking like astrology. In the original wheel, or I was trying to correlate the first house prostitute with the first house victim, and see how that impacts me when it comes to my career. So it says, if you have faith, no one can buy you. That was a quote from the book. Have faith in the divine integrity. Don't minimize myself or walk on eggshells. Use my imagination, take risks, recognize my own power and voice, trust intuition, Having the prostitute in my first house makes me alert with people and their intentions if I am being taken advantage of. Trusting myself is important. It made me more protective. The experiences that I've had in my life makes me a little on guard, but I am learning um, to let down the shield a little bit. Prostitute and victim can support me in being empowered while protecting myself in a healthy way. When I can do this for myself, I can support others in doing so also. So that was just a small snippet. I apologize if you're confused because I know that was a lot. But like I said, this is part 4 of this experience. And I've been doing this since November consistently. I got this book back in 2016, I believe. Spring of 2016. Like literally a year ago, I bought this. Not a year ago, excuse me. Literally 4 years ago. No, not a year ago. I wasn't reading this book a year ago. But 4 years ago, I read this book. I started reading this book. And it was very overwhelming at that time. It's a lot of information. It's a very interactive book, Sacred Contract. So you have to, be patient with yourself. Take your time. I've attempted to read this book a few times. And in the end of the year of 2019, I felt the urge to get back into reading this book again. And I really felt connected and felt ready to really work in the book, literally. So because of that, I'm very excited. I was very excited about it. So I decided, let me share it. I already had a couple of videos from like 2017 where I was sharing what I was reading in this book. But this time around, I'm extremely interactive with sharing. Like let me go back. In this series that I'm doing with the Sacred Contracts, I'm sharing with you how interactive I am being with studying my archetypes and everything like that. This is the first time that I was able to read this book, in the few times that I've read it, attempted to reading it, that I've really been able to take in the information. It sticks with me. I feel comfortable. And like I said in previous videos, you have to really take your time and not rush. And if you feel like you need to put the book down for a while and then come back with some fresh eyes, do that like I'm doing. But like I said before, this is a powerful process. I've learned so much about myself, and I want to give thanks for everyone that has been checking in and listening to the insights that I've been sharing. And I will be getting back into making other videos. I keep saying this, but like I said, I'm getting back into the groove of doing videos on a consistent basis. That's why I said I would do at least one a month, so that I can get back in the habit and then slowly pick up the momentum, because I went like a year without making videos consistently after the birth of my daughter. So I'm getting back into the groove slowly but surely into making videos again. So thank you guys for your patience. You can keep up with me on Instagram at Infinitenature1, Twitter at Infinitenature1, Tumblr at Infinitenature. You can also go to my website at loveinfinitenature.com. Thank you so much for taking your time out and listening to my insights on this great book that I'm reading. And if you have any comments that you want to make, give it away. Share. If you read this book and want to share some insights, free to do so. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and have a great day.